Hello, and welcome to the Takarazuka Fan Podcast, a podcast where fans from around the world talk about Takarazuka and the addictive, sparkling universe surrounding it. Today's topic is going to be the new Moon Troupe top star announcement. And we have a small team of two today. I am Carly from New York/Japan for another 4 weeks. And
this is Jen in New York, but upstate, not the city. Boo!
It's still cool up there.
It is.
Sort of. Okay, so was it last week now? I've lost all sense of time.
It was just a couple days ago. Yeah.
A couple days ago?
I think so.
I believe it. Tamaki Ryou was announced as the next top star of Moon Troupe after Yu Misaki retires in September? October?
September.
I should have looked this up ahead of time.
Yeah.
September.
Masaki's retiring September 4th, and so Tamakichi will be starting on the 5th. Yay!
She will be Ken 9. And what that means is it's been 9 years since her debut after music school, which is a bit young, but we crunched some data that we'll share later. But let's talk a little bit about Tamakichi first. Jen, would you like to do that?
All right, I'll start. So we were trying to think of what to talk about, and we said, well, let's share some memories of when we first really noticed her. And, well, she debuted in 2008 in Me and My Girl, which I never saw actually live, and then I did see her in a couple other shows as a Ken 1, but she never really stood out. I wouldn't have noticed her in the crowds. But then in 2010 she was in Ryu Masaki's Bow Hall Hamlet, and she played Laertes, who is arguably the Nibante role on that show, possibly Sambante, but I mean it's a big role. And I remember she first comes in walking down the aisle through Bow Hall, and she's louder than life as she comes in, so everybody turns around to watch her come in, and I'm like sitting next to my friend, and I look at her and I'm like, I don't know who this otokoyaku is. But she just had this big nose, and she was very tall, and she had a huge amount of charisma. And I was like, later I looked her up and I was like, oh my gosh, she's only Ken 2. This girl is going places. And she was a little awkward. She hadn't quite found her place yet, but she was still, you could see the foundation was there and that she was going to have a lot of fun in Moon Troupe. So yeah, I was excited. I've been following her since then. How about you, Carly?
Oh. So I saw Puck live in November 2014, and that was my first live Tsukigumi. And I did watch a lot of Tsukigumi, but then kind of didn't for a while. So I really was not familiar with anybody below the real upperclassmen. Yeah. And Tamakichi played Bobby. And I remember thinking similarly, who is that? And at the time, I was stupid, so I didn't have any pocket Wi-Fi. But I went out and I turned on my precious, expensive data just so I could look up who the heck was playing Bobby on the Takawiki at intermission, and saw, oh, it's Tamaki Ryou. This is the first time I've ever heard her name, but I'm going to remember it. So yeah, similar first impression. She was just kind of loud and charismatic, and I thought, who is that? And then I looked her up. And
That's
now
awesome.
She's going to be our next top star.
I think it's really interesting because we're going to talk numbers later, like you mentioned. And in the original Puck in the 80s, the person who played Bobby, do you know who it was?
Oh my god, I did. I totally did, but I don't remember.
It was Amami Yuki, who is also one of the youngest otokoyaku to become a top star. So, yeah. Interesting. But I do want to slip one more thing in. I forgot. If any of you haven't seen, and it's not released on DVD yet, but I know it will be once she becomes top star. But in 2013, she did a Bow Hall. a Japanese style called Tsukigumo no Miko, and that was when I really knew that I hadn't seen her in a couple of years because I left Japan, and suddenly, like, I was astounded. Like, her acting had become very subtle and really amazing. So I liked her as Bobby and Puck, but Bobby is not really a subtle role.
No.
It's very much
Yeah.
a young otokoyaku role, and so, but
Definitely.
having seen her range of drama, I am actually really excited for her to be a top star. So
Yeah, I really haven't seen her range of drama yet. So I am curious about that. But I was sort of thinking the same thing when I saw Kenshin because it has a lot of those really spunky roles in it, and those roles that are just kind of loud and spunky tend to make everybody look really, really, really impressive.
yeah.
But they're still fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, so a lot of the talk surrounding Tamakichi has been her age because there's this not necessarily 100% strictly followed, but for the most part strictly followed 10-year rule, unwritten rule, I guess, that it takes 10 years for an otokoyaku to ripen into someone worthy of top stardom. So she is one of very few who will be making top star before that point. But because we were curious, we crunched some numbers, and actually, in the history of Tsukigumi, she's not such a huge outlier. But we're going to share that data because we think it's fun. So Jen, do you want to start from Hanagumi and go through Tsukigumi?
Sure. So we went through and looked, and Hanagumi and Tsukigumi have about 13 top stars each, that were official top stars. Although you can get into semantics about the fact that the review didn't actually have a top star position for a long time. But anyway, they called it top stars. And in Hanagumi, I looked at the 13 top star otokoyaku, and 13.2 is about the average. The median age is
And
also 13.
That's from when they make top star.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's from Anna June in the 70s all the way up to Asumi Ryo now. So, and I think that's about average. If you look through the numbers, the mode is about 12, 13. That's usually the average for Hanagumi. Then I looked at Tsukigumi, and again, there were about 13 otokoya top stars, and their average was a little bit younger. It was 12.4, as Ken 12.4 when they started as top star. But the median was 13 because, especially recently, we've had a lot of older top stars. Shibuki Jun, Ayaki Nao, Kiriya Hiromu were all much older, so that definitely raised it. But we've got some very young top stars in Moon Troupe. Amami Yuki, who we mentioned before, actually she became top star Ken 7, which is unbelievable. And I've heard some gossip and things about the time when she became top star. I mean, they were pushing, the review actually wanted her to start a little bit earlier, but I think the fans would have thrown a fit if it was before she'd even left her Shinjin Koen years. And I also heard, and I don't know how true this rumor is, that Amami Yuki, I mean, she is amazing. If you've seen her now, she is a drama TV star in Japan, and she's done some movies as well, but she is hugely well recognized. Most people in Japan would recognize her name, even if they didn't know anything about Takarazuka. And I heard that she wanted to just leave and start her other career, because if you start younger, then you're going to go further. And I think the review recognized she was a great talent, and they wanted her to be top star for a little bit. So that's one of the reasons she became top star so young. That's what I've heard anyway.
One of my favorite bits of trivia about Amami Yuki is, and I'm looking it up now so I can give you the exact performance. There was one show where, oh, come on, Wiki. Shizuki Asato, who is her doki, her classmate, had the Shinjin Koen lead for a show that Amami Yuki was the actual lead for.
Oh.
And I always thought that was really interesting. It looks like it is it's a 3-parter. The Daughter Here and Million Dreams.
Oh, that's the one they took on tour to London. Parts of it anyway. Yeah.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, I always liked that. Well, anyway, yeah, so that puts, even with the later top stars, Moon Troupe is decidedly the youngest by average. And I guess that does make Tamaki the second youngest top star since the advent of the top star system.
Yeah. But I do also want to point out there are at least 2 other Otokoyaku top stars in Moon Troupe who started as Ken 10. So, I mean, even as Ken 9, she's not that far off. Daichi Mao and Suzukaze Mayo, also 2 very famous names, household names, were also top stars at 10. So, yeah.
Yukigumi and especially Hoshigumi are a little bit older. We only had one top star who started at 10 in Yukigumi. That was Moriki. But again, the mean was 13 and the average was just a little bit over 13.25. The oldest being So Kazuho at 17. She was a little bit of an outlier. But everyone else is in that sort of that 12 to 15 range. And then Hoshigumi had both a mean and an average of 14. So they are decidedly older right from the beginning. Yuzuki Reon and Mine Saori were the youngest 2 at 11. And then we had a bunch of 14s, some 15s, some 16s. Hokusho Kairi is 18. Did I calculate that right? So she would be tied with Yui, actually.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
She really, she threw that off. But anyway, we had in Hoshigumi 2 consecutive top stars who came from New Senka. The first being Koju Tatsuki and the second being Kozuki Wataru at 16 and 15 respectively. And then that pushed Aran-kei after Kozuki Wataru even later, and she also came in at 16. Yeah. So between those 3, and then Mi-chan coming in now at 18, Hoshigumi is quite old.
Yes.
On average. Soragumi has the fewest top stars, but it's actually not, I guess, because the top star system didn't come about until a bit later. It's not that far off. Like, Hoshigumi has had 10 top stars since they started counting start dates.
I just have to interrupt for a second and say this is so funny because when we started the wiki 10 years ago, there were 2 top stars in Soragumi because Yoka was top star for so long. It's like all these other top stars have just been in the last 10 years, which is just mind-blowing. I remember that. I remember that really well, actually, now that you mention it. 10 years. That's scary. But anyway, now in the year 2016, they're up to 7, and Hoshigumi's only at 10, so they're catching up. But yeah, Soragumi's also average a little bit older, average of 13.7. But again, with a mean of 13, and that 0.7 is really all Ozora Yuhi throwing the whole thing off, because she hung on and finally came in at 18. But everybody else is basically 12, 13. Now, what ken was Shizuki Asato when she became?
She was 12. I thought she was younger.
I did too,
I
for
think
some reason.
she, age-wise, is young for her class.
Okay.
Very young for her class. I think she debuted at 16 or 17, because I remember, actually, I think heard her say this in a talk show, that she retired at age 30, which was very, I mean, ken-wise, she was on track, but age-wise, that was a very young age to retire, and everybody was kind of shocked that she wanted to go.
Well, I remember hearing gossip that she didn't really want to become a top star again. She felt like she was too young or not ready for it when they started Soragumi. So that's why I always thought she was younger. Huh.
Yeah, and she is younger age-wise.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Cool.
on track class-wise. So yeah, I thought it was. I didn't realize how many of the older top stars in Tsukigumi were really quite a bit younger, except for Amayuki. That's kind of the one thing. So that was interesting to find out, because that is all of the talk here about how young she is, and pretty much, I'm sitting in cafes on the Hananomichi and like overhearing conversations about how young she is. So I thought that was interesting that she's even though it is quite rare that someone gets in before the 10-year mark, if you think about it, the big picture, that she's not actually that crazy young.
I'd be curious to look and see, because I don't remember if she was one of the... Maybe she started straight out of middle school. Maybe she's young in that sense, too. We should look that up.
Oh, it's possible. Yeah, I have no idea where she is age-wise in her class. And I don't know how totally reliable that information is before they retire, if you find it somewhere on the internet.
Do they still
I'd be curious to know
list
also.
the schools in the Otome?
Oh, do they?
They used to. I don't know if they do anymore. Actually, let me go think about that.
I'm not sure.
I will check and find out.
I don't have a recent
and addend it into our notes when we post.
That's a good idea. I'd be curious to know that too. So the other thing that's interesting is she and Manaki Reika, who will, at least for a little while, who knows how long, be her partner, are only one class year apart. Which is not unheard of. There are a handful of top combinations with between 1 and 3 classes difference between the Musumeyaku and the Otokoyaku top star. What we found is in almost all of those cases, the Musumeyaku is on her 2nd or 3rd Otokoyaku.
That sounds so strange when you say it. By that we mean like one Otokoyaku top star is retired and the next has come in. And
the Musumeyaku is held on.
I think, I just have to say, because I think she's awesome, and this always makes me happy. We talked about how Koju Tatsuki came in from New Senka, and she was quite a bit older. She was 10, 16, I think, when she became top star.
Yes.
But her top Musumeyaku, who has not been a top Musumeyaku before, Nagisa Aki, was only 2 years younger than her in years. So she was 14 when she became a top Musumeyaku for the first time, which is kind of unheard of.
That's super rare. And rare, I can talk, rare for a Musumeyaku to be that old, for one, and for them to push such a close in age combination together.
Yeah. But they were awesome together. They're like one of my favorite top combis, so it made me happy.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how Chappie and Tamakichi will go together, because it's a big jump. I mean, I guess they've been working together for quite a while now, since they've both only ever been in Moon Troupe. But Chappie going from a pretty big age spread with Masaki to a very small age spread, I don't know if that sort of thing matters, but it's the sort of thing that I always think about. Especially because I remember when Chappie became top star, she was very, very sort of shy and mousy, and has just blossomed into this incredible goddess.
And I feel like they talk about how they pick Musumeyaku to fit the Otokoyaku, and Masaki has always had a very young, kind of babyish face. So I think at the time that they first picked Chappie, they fit well as kind of a quote-unquote young couple. But now Chappie has matured, and I think despite her age, Tamakichi also has that aura of a more mature Otokoyaku, so I think they're going to fit together pretty well.
Yeah, I have noticed I mean, I guess it's just what she's born with, but her stature and just she does have a very mature look, even for somebody who's younger. But I'm curious to see it, because it's got to be a lot of pressure for somebody who is so young to take on the role of a top star. It's pressure to become a top star anyway, but the combination of somebody fresh and somebody who has made such huge strides since becoming top, I think will be interesting to see.
But they have worked together as a pair at least twice. The tour that they're doing right now, the national tour, and they both had the Shinko cast lead roles in Edward VIII. Tamaki had Kiriya Hiromu's role, and Manaki Reika had Aono Yuki's role. So I think the people in power kind of know what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been looking at the schedule for that tour and so up and down as to whether or not I want to try and go out of my way to see it or not. I mean, I do, but
have you seen
money.
Passion?
I saw I saw it on DVD. I've seen actually both the old Sorogumi version and the slightly newer Hoshigumi version.
Okay. I was going to say,
I have not
a lot of people are in love
yet.
with the show. I liked it, but I don't know.
I don't dislike it. I don't love it. It's fine. I think what I do, I'm curious to see them together. I'm curious about Tamakichi because she's going to become top star, and I just haven't seen a lot of her. My favorite thing about the show is it's a rare show where the Musumeyaku role really feels like an equal build lead.
Yes.
And however you feel about the contents of the show itself, it's really cool when a really great Musumeyaku gets to show off that much. It's a sassy role. It's got a lot of really cool sort of solo moments. There's some great dancing. There's some great, snarking the lead otokoyaku. It's a really, the story has its problems, but it's a powerful female lead.
That's true.
And I love that about it, and I love that Chappie is going to have the chance to do it because, like I said, goddess, she's fantastic. I really, really love her.
I think a lot of newer fans might not realize this, that Chappie actually started out as an otokoyaku before she switched over. Yeah.
Even when I look at the picture evidence, I don't believe it.
Well, I remember when she was
so
an otokoyaku,
adorable.
and even when the first time she played a onayaku role, she was still technically an otokoyaku, and it was with Masaki, and I was like, who is this otokoyaku? She's pretty cute.
So cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it when the top Musumeyaku get together and she's towering all over everybody because she really is. She's a Tokoyaku height. And just the most adorable, charming face you ever did see.
Which is going to be interesting because Tamakichi isn't that tall for an otokoyaku. Like, she seems like it because she's very lanky, but yeah. It'll be cool to see.
So yeah, I'm curious about that and have not pulled the trigger yet and don't know if I'm going to, but anything could happen. I have no self-control in Japan. So they haven't announced their grand theater debut yet, but their small theater debut is going to be The Legend of King Arthur, which admittedly, I mean, I know what The Legend of King Arthur is, but this is based on a very specific French musical, The Legend of King Arthur, that I don't know anything about. But Jen, you said you looked into a little bit and it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm on holiday right now, so I'm starting to update the Takawiki as it desperately needs. And so I added the page the other day. And so I was looking into the French website. And it's actually a pretty new French musical. I think it just opened last year officially. But yeah, if you go to the French website, it's linked at the bottom of the Takawiki page. And they have a bunch of videos showing some of the music and some of the sets and things. And of course, we don't know how it's going to be staged in Takarazuka, but I was actually impressed. I was telling Carly, I wasn't very impressed with 1789, like the French music before they kind of adapted it for the Takarazuka. But the music for this one actually sounds pretty good already. So, and it looks, At first, like, when I heard about it, and I thought, oh god, not another French musical, like, no offense, but, but then I went and
They've
saw
been
it,
pulling
and
them
like,
left and right.
it actually looks like a lot of fun, so I'm getting more excited for it. Yeah.
They do, at least from a very aesthetic perspective, have a lot that suits Takarazuka well, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm kind of over the pop musicals. Like, they were fun at first,
yeah.
but we've had so many of them in Tsukigumi that I'm like when they announced that Nobunaga was going to be another like rock musical, I was like, really? Really? So, but hey, we'll go for it. We'll see how it turns out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be at Bunkyo Civic Hall and Drama City starting in October. I guess that's quite a ways in the future still.
It'll be here before we know it, though.
Yeah, I know, it's terrifying. So yeah, that's what's going on. And that's pretty much what I got.
Oh, you know what we forgot?
We
forgot our happy things.
Oh, we did forget our happy things. We even talked about it and everything. Okay.
That's okay. We can end with our happy things.
Yeah. Go ahead. What is your happy thing of the week, Jen?
Sure. So I was really, really happy when this is actually not this week. It's actually a couple weeks ago, but that's okay. When they did the press conference for Roman Holiday, and I was having conversations actually with a podcast crew about how excited I was because I really wanted them to have the scooter on stage. And at the press conference, they had a scooter, and that was all it took. Yep, that made my month. So I'm super excited. And I guess I'm not the only one because there's actually a really talented artist who drew some fan art of Sagiri Seina and Sakihi Miyu from the press conference, like in costume. So I'm going to put a link in the podcast website to it because it's really cute. In the blog.
The whole thing is so cute. I'm just so happy that they're doing like a fluffy love show. Yeah. And they have the larger than life poster up in Umeda Station already, and it's so cute. It's so adorable. I can't wait.
So how about you, Carly? What's your happy thing?
Oh my god, my happy thing. Last weekend, I got to shake hands and take pictures with Asami Hikaru, who is my top favorite of ever and ever and ever. And it's the first time I've ever done that, and I'm still kind of at the point of ready to fall out of my chair if I just think about it.
That's so awesome.
But we actually got to... it was a really cool thing. She has been very, very active in earthquake relief from the big 3/11 earthquake for the past 5 years. And she periodically holds fan club events in Sendai because she's from Sendai, all as part of the fundraiser. And we toured the damaged area a little bit, which was really very chilling. And before we did that, she had a little press conference with somebody from the prefecture where she handed over her donations, and it was a lot of money. It was something like the equivalent of $300,000, and I think she has raised the equivalent of over $5 million in the last 5 years, and I just was like, wow, that is absolutely incredible. And I was really, really happy to take part in it, even a little bit.
Yeah, at some point we're going to have to talk about that, because I used to live in Sendai, for those listeners who didn't know that.
Ooh.
And yeah.
Were you there during the earthquake?
Oh. No, I was living in Guma at that time, but I lived in Sendai like 2003 to 2005. And so, yeah, I used to go hang out with the English teacher in Ishinomaki, and seeing the pictures, like, after the earthquake, a lot of my friends went up and volunteered, and I just couldn't. Like, it was just too much for me, and I've always regretted that, but yeah.
It's rough. Even 5 years later, it was rough, and there's no visible damage left around, but it's still very much in a state of struggling to get back on its feet. And it was hard to see, but it was was a good feeling at the same time, if that makes sense, to
Yeah.
go and do something, even if it was small.
Yeah. Well, I remember, like, pretty soon after things were kind of back on their feet, but not completely, they were saying, you know, go to Sendai if you can, like, take your holiday in that area in Miyagi Prefecture, because they need the tourists, they need the income. So yeah, if anybody's going to Japan, Miyagi is awesome.
It was beautiful. I had genuinely, the best sushi of my life, like, hands down. It's like, oh, that's what it's supposed to taste like.
Sendai is known as, like, the blue
yeah.
city, blue being green, because they have so many trees there. And I don't know, I heard that a lot of the trees got damaged, but it used to be a really beautiful city, so.
It was still very beautiful. It's very, it has city things, but not that oppressive, overwhelming, you're packed shoulder to shoulder with people feeling. It's a little more spread out. It's more airy. There's a lot of nature. It's really, really beautiful. It was my first time. In Sendai, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope I have the chance to go again. Yeah, it is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody go to Sendai.
Yeah, do. All right. We actually talked a lot.
Yeah, we did.
Funny how that always happens.
Yeah, it is funny how that always happens. So yeah, we always love getting your comments and questions and addendums and additions and corrections and all of that stuff on the blog. So please keep them coming. If you have any questions, we will continue to answer them. And we just love getting comments.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We got a lot on the Q&A post that we did. We got a lot of questions and comments and corrections, and also really cool, interesting facts. So go check them out. And we will be answering your questions, I promise. Soon.
Yes. Yeah. We'll get to all of them eventually. All right. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Yay. Thank you.
Yay.
Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast.